someone we met yesterday.
Yes.
Come and hung out at the booth. And you'll notice here, folks, now, first of all, Boswell, looking good with this is a new shirt. I haven't seen him debut this one, but we are in the sleeveless mirror.
Yeah, there's a lot of compelling storylines merging all at the same time right now.
This may be Boswell's weakness.
Yeah, we've never seen him play the mirror, I don't think.
Correct. So we will see what happens here between Abzan Aggro and Mardu Dragons in the sleeveless mirror. Boswell going to start things off with a Temple of Silence. Corey will start things off with the rarely seen Nomad Outpost. Boswell's going to sacrifice a Windswept. He'd go down to 19. Forester Plains coming. There is a Forest.
And that's not a great land for Boswell to see, because typically it means a deck flush with removal spells,
yes.
Which is not something that Abzan Aggro wants to be playing against.
Mardu is so underplayed. I'm a Mardu guy.
I know you are.
I'm really a Mardu guy. I'm more of a Crackling Doom guy. Here's Warden of the First Tree. I think that card is busted.
It is very good in the appropriate matchups.
I'm very particular about the removal spells I play in my aggressive decks.
Yes, we're in the same camp there. I'm a Searing Blaze man myself. It's much the same concept.
I don't want a lot of removal, but if there's a really good removal spell to play like Path to Exile, I will play it.
Yeah.
Crackling Doom, really good removal spell. Temple of Silence going to put the top card to the bottom for Corey. Phipps. Boswell with his little Warden of the First Tree. Coming to the red zone. Just 1 damage. There's a fetch land. Boswell going to go down to, I believe, 18 now. There's a Plains. I think we're going to see Anafenza. And we will. It also has Bramaz and Tasker in hand. Another fetch line, too, so we can see Tasker next turn. Phipps will draw. Not a bad time for Crackling Doom.
It's a really good on-curve play right now. I don't know if Corey has another land that comes into play untapped. He's been on all tap lands thus far.
There's Battlefield Forge, so that'll answer that question. We're going to head back Boswell's way. Boswell draws another copy of Warden of the First Tree.
There is not a judge at your table. Please call for 1 down.
And there will be a Crackling Doom. I'm in love. See you later, Anafenza. Nothing you can do about that, tough guy. And take 2 as well. Card's so good. You can only play it in 1 deck, really, but card's so good.
He got his 3 mana to trade with his opponent's 3 mana.
Dealt 2.
Dealt 2.
That's like a full card. That's a Wild Slash as well.
Assuming that your Wild Slashes only get pointed at players. Which I suppose could happen, Not ruling it out.
I play my Wild Slash, so I want to play my Wild Slashes, okay? See, Warden of the First, she's going to pump up the jam a little bit here. Boswell going to search for Forest. I think we're going to see the other Warden come. We could see Tasker this turn as well.
Yeah, Tasker feels like the follow-up here. 4 in the graveyard. Very solid on-curve play.
There it is. Well, Phipps has got some serious catching up to do. He's got some pretty good creatures in his deck. Thunderbreak Regent. 4 of those. 2 Soulfire Grandmasters. Dragonlord Kolagon, and then Kolagon the Storm's Fury. But his deck is really chock full of a lot of removal spells.
Order of Ojutai and Stormbreath Dragon as well.
Yeah. So he is definitely a Mardu Dragon's deck. Temple of Silence is his play right now. You don't see Anger of the Gods main deck very often. There's another copy of Crackling Doom. Kaboom.
Another Ancestral Recall.
Basically. Boswell is at 13.
And this is why it's so important for Boswell's deck. Just another demonstration of Warden. If he wasn't getting started until turn 2 or turn 3, these Crackling Dooms would be really hard for him to beat. As it stands, he's just chipping away now. There's a Siege Runner to follow up, and Warden is just doing a ton of work.
I believe the draw was Soulfire Grandmaster this turn for Corey. Don't even get me started with that in Crackling Doom, because that's just it. Here's Soulfire Grandmaster.
The lock.
Yes. Yes, it is. Now here's Draconic Roar.
Attention players.
It looks like for Corey, no dragon to reveal, though, unfortunately.
Still gaining 3 here is really valuable. He's trying to stabilize a little bit.
Thought sees the draw there for Boz to go along with his other Warden and a Bermaz. You can see a little bit of the problem here with the Abzan aggro deck. 2 Forest in play, really awkward. Now, he can play Warden and Bermaz in the same turn, but, you know, he can't play Thoughtseize and Bermaz in the same turn, for example.
Yeah. I think that his line of play here, because this card is so threatening, he's the Soulfire Grandmaster here. He's going to Thoughtseize, Warden, and probably pump the Warden.
That's still perfectly fine play. Still a good turn. There's the Warden. Looks like he's going to pump the Warden right now. And he does have Orator of Ojutai in hand. What he needs, Corey, is a dragon to go with that Orator so he can draw a card, a little Wall of Omens action. He'll start by attacking for 2. Hello.
Ooh, what did you draw?
Right into that 3/3. I love it. What did he draw?
Okay.
Wild Slash. Okay.
Wild Slash with the rebuys if he wants to. It looks like he's going to not do that.
Okay. Going to decline the rebuy. A little surprising. But he's going to play the Orator this turn, so that makes a little more sense than a passing of the turn. Now what he needs is a dragon. Siege Rhino in. There's a block. No trample damage allowed since it is no 4. There's Bermaz and a passing of the turn. Corey needs a good one. He needs it right now. It's just a temple. Take a look at the top card. And that's going to become the bottom card. He did not like that.
So I was not a huge fan of all that sequencing that occurred over the last couple turns.
Okay.
I feel like if you have Order in your hand, you don't really need to go out of your way to remove a 3/3 from the table because the 0/4 just naturally checks that. So I would have rather preferred to just sit behind Wild Slash on the rebuys to blunt the damage race a little bit, or cast the Order, block the 3/3, and then try to do something else. But
Sure.
as it stands, I don't think Corey made the most of his resources that game.
And he is conceding the game, so Andrew Boswell's going to win game number 1 here over Corey Phipps. Abzan aggro up a game here over Mardu Dragons. Corey's going to go to the board, and we will do the same. We will see 4 copies of Goblin Rabble Master, 4 Thoughtseize, 2 Duress, 2 Roast. You have to believe those are coming in. 2 Ultimate Price and a Murderous Cut.
I'm a big fan of the 2 copies of Roast and the Murderous Cut. Ultimate Price, very troubled against Boswell's deck, which is almost exclusively gold creatures. I don't think the discard spells are very good, nor do I like Goblin Rabble Master in the matchup. I like Corey's sort of being the control deck, overloading on removal as much as he possibly can, and winning the game with his quality threats.
What do we see on the other side here for Boswell?
A Thoughtseize, 2 copies of Duress, 2 Hunt the Hunter, 3 copies of Valorous Stance, 3 Drown Sorrow, a Sorin Solemn Visitor, 2 copies of Nissa Worldwaker, and a Johnny Mentor of Heroes. I really like the Valorous Stances in the matchup. They're going to do double duty very well here, either removing Corey's large threats or protecting Boswell's from spot removal. I think the Planeswalkers are very well suited for this matchup as well, particularly Sorin, but I could see Nissa and Ajani also coming in. If Andrew assumes that Corey's plan here is just 1-for-1 removal and try to drag the game out, those Planeswalkers can have a huge impact.
Well, game number 2 going to be underway here in just a moment between these players. We'll talk about our Season 2 schedule as it is certainly underway. We were in Syracuse a couple weeks ago where we watched that Open B1 really destroyed by Chris Van Meter and his Green Red Dragons deck. What a beating.
Yeah, it was a very convincing run. He was in first place of the Swiss standings most of the tournament and then went on to win the whole thing.
That deck had a huge impact on who played the Pro Tour, too.
Absolutely. We're in Providence now. Next weekend we go to Cleveland. After that, Portland. Now remember, this is the rescheduled show that was in Seattle. After Portland, 2 weeks later, we're in Dallas. Then Worcester for a Legacy Open May 23rd and 24th. And then the Season 2 Invitational, Modern and Standard as the Invitational formats, with a Modern 2-day $20,000 Open Series event, June 5th through 7th, tied to the Origins Game Fair in Columbus, Ohio.
Short season. We're underway. But during that short season, you can get the Polar Punch playmat. It is available at every Open Series event that you do come to during Season 2. Kind of our Season 2 playmat is what we're dubbing the Polar Punch playmat. So come on out. Free, limited edition, as you like to say. No strings attached. Just come play.
Yep. You don't have to give us your address. We don't mail them out. It's not for the first X people who register. It's not for people who pre-register. Just you get it when you sign up.
But if you do want to give us your address, that's cool.
You can, if you want to give us your social security number and your credit card information, we will accept it. But you do not need to do that to get this playmat.
If not, that's cool too.
Right.
Your call.
It's up to you.
Available to all Open Series competitors until May 23rd.
How happy are you with this commander deck?
I am actually thrilled right now with this commander deck. A lot of goblins.
Very thoughtful.
Yes. Legion Loyalist. I know Tom Ross, he's a big fan of that card. I am too, since it's a Goblin
Same.
Soldier. Goblin Matron, that's just good deck building.
Yep.
You have goblins
Finds a
in your deck.
goblin. You do have goblins to find.
Correct. Gem Palm Incinerator, have one of those to find. Eldrazi Monument, I like that. Ooh, Ashnod's Altar,
Oh, busted.
probably a pretty good card. Some oldies but goodies here.
Yeah. Not thrilled with the Terramorphic Expanse in the All Mountain deck,
I have no complaints, actually.
but you can't actually cut anything. This
There's-
is a gift. You have to keep this intact.
Kiki Jiki. What else we got here?
Snow Cover Mountain for value.
That's for Jim Davis. Jim Davis is signing that, by the way. I'm going to get a lot of signatures on these cards, I'll tell you what. Corey does not want to keep his opening hand.
Goblin Rally. Red Sun
I haven't
Zenith,
seen
that
that
is
one
gas.
I have not seen that one for a long time. Looks like Boswell's going to keep his opening 7.
Mog War Marshal.
Might be my favorite goblin. Mog War Marshal and I, we have blocked Tarmogoyf a lot before we lose. We have blocked it a lot before conceding the game, okay? What is that thing, a 6-7?
Block. I could do this all day.
Block again.
Yeah.
And one more time.
Block
All right.
another time.
All right, you win.
All right, now I'm dead.
That's fine, you win.
Posted to stars.
Since I can't beat a Tarmogoyf, but whatever. I don't know how you're so rich with your Tarmogoyfs.
Yeah.
All the pairings boards in yellow paper. Please make
Let's see if Corey can find a better 6 here.
Get to the pairings boards.
I'm selfishly rooting for the Crackling Doom Mage here. Corey knows a good card when he sees him. He's going to shrug his shoulders and keep this hand. And we're going to be underway here in game number 2. It's Temple of Silence. Top card stays on top there for Phipps. Boswell will draw. Bermaz is what he's found. Manic Influence means this could be a pretty painful game. Here's thoughts he's making it even more painful. A Soulfire Grandmaster, oh boy. Stormbreath Dragon, a Roast, a Kolagon, and Orator of Ojutai.
I think that Horror is the card to take out of this hand.
I think so too.
It's the highest upside card. It gives him a nice blocker, and he does have a dragon to draw a card. Seems like the best thing going on in this hand.
Now keep in mind, Corey did keep on top of the scry, so you have to imagine that's probably a land.
And the rest of his hand is pretty poor otherwise. He has a Soulfire Grandmaster, nothing to really do with it, a Roast and no red mana, and then a bunch of very expensive cards.
The Boz going to take a look at Kolagon. The Storm's Fury. A limited all-star. A little surprised this hasn't seen more constructed play, honestly. Pretty good card.
Pretty good card. There just haven't been a lot of black-red decks that are trying to go up to the top end.
Now Boz going to take a long look at the hand. Again, I think if you're Boswell in this situation, when your opponent keeping with Temple of Silence, your assumption is, okay, there's a land on top of the deck.
Well, I don't think it really matters. If Corey's not drawing lands, then none of this matters.
Sure.
His hand doesn't do anything. If you assume that the top card of his deck is a land, then Order seems like the best card. And it's not like Boswell can take a dragon out of the hand, because there's 2, so you can't try to navigate it that way.
Legacy players, please find your seats. The round is about to begin.
There goes the Orator of Ojutai. We had a feeling that's what he would
Yeah,
take.
this seems like the best card in that hand, given what's going on.
Now Boswell, you take a look at his hand. He only has one other land in there. He's the Forest. He can use the Cast Fleece main line. Doesn't look like he has any others past that.
Yeah,
Phipps.
Mana Confluence is justifying a lot of what's going on with this hand, because if that land was almost anything else, that hand might have to go back. But because, you know, he's a black source of mana away from having double black for Hero's Downfall, he's a white source of mana away from having double white for Bermaz, he's drawing to a lot of lands that unlock most of what's going on in his hand. So even though it's painful, and even though he's short on mana, he's drawing so live here that it's a worthwhile keep.
Well, Xantep Citadel was a really good draw. That's what Boswell just picked up. He saw Phipps last turn sacrifice Bloodstained Mar, get him out and play Soulfire Grandmaster. For Corey, it's all about ripping lands to play those powerful spells. We'll see if he's able to do that over the course of the next couple of turns. Boswell going to take the turn off to play the Citadel to fix his mana as he's not underneath a lot of immediate pressure. There is an attack here for 2. Draconic Roar was the draw for Phipps. Not a bad draw.
Well, that's really good sequencing for Boswell the way that things shook out there, because if he had just played his Fleeceman line, he'd be behind on development on his 3 drops, and the Fleeceman line would have just gotten tagged with Draconic Roar. Now he's going to be cranking out 3/4s and things that are a little bit harder for Corey to answer.
Here's a Forest for Boswell. We'll see if it's time for Ramaz with a Lion. Looks like he's just going to pass the turn back. Boz on the upkeep says, I'm going to Hero's Downfall your Soulfire Grandmaster. That will work just fine. Phipps will draw. That's land number 3 there in Temple. Temple could find land number 4 as he left it on top very quickly. Now keep in mind, Phipps' hand is actually pretty good.
Yep.
If he draws lands.
And he's definitely got his top end already situated. He's got a variety of removal spells.
Perhaps it's Siege Rhino time. It is. So Boswell will gain some life back. Phipps will lose some life. And we will head back Corey's way. That's a land, no surprise. There's Caves of Koilos. Maybe a Roasty Toasty? It is. See you later, Siege Rhino.
Like it was designed to do.
Absolutely. They should just have a Siege Rhino in the picture.
Yep. Just to clue you in even further.
Yeah.
Maybe a Tassiger.
You're going to want that for this. There's Bramaz.
Listen, I'm all about making gameplay as intuitive as possible, but if they can't figure out that Rose is good against Siege Rhino, then there's no helping you.
Here's a Soulfire Grandmaster. And a passing of the turn, I believe.
At that point, you might as well just scribble the words Siege Rhino in the art box rather than draw a piece of art.
Hero's Downfall in Boswell's hand here, and Johnny, Mentor of Heroes as well. It's interesting, the Draconic Roars in this matchup are really good against some cards in Boswell's deck and really bad against others.
It's a problematic spot for a lot of removal-centric decks when they're playing against Abzan aggro, because Bioblight, much the same story. Ultimate Price has the same characteristics.
Yep.
Abzan Charm. Even if your deck has a lot of removal, there's no guarantee that it lines up the right way against the threats that they're bringing to the table.
We are not in that Duneblade era. Phipps just going to block the token. Boswell, I think maybe 2 Fleecemane lines. Yep. One of them's going to die. And Corey's going to get to gain some life since Draconic Roar will have lifelink. So there's Stormbreath Dragon. Now here's the big draw for Phipps. Can he find a land that enters the battlefield untapped to play the Dragon or the Kolagon?
Yeah. Although Boswell has been sitting on his downfalls, he's been very patient. It feels like he's sort of willing to make his bed here with the Soulfire Grandmaster a little bit to make sure that he has as much removal spells as possible for Corey's top end. Because the worst case scenario is Boswell is pretty liberal about firing off those heroes' downfalls. Corey draws a bunch of Stormbreath Dragons and then
just kills him with them.
So I think for the time being, at least, Boswell is willing to suck up that this Soulfire Grandmaster is causing some problems to ensure himself against the dragons as much as he possibly can.
Now this is actually getting pretty interesting because take a look at Corey's life total. He's at 23. Boswell's playing a Thoughtseize. Corey's responding with Crackling Doom. And Boswell will take a look at Crackling Doom and say, okay, I get to pick which one of these creatures I get to sacrifice, but Crackling Doom's going to put him on an 8. Thoughtseize is going to put him on a 6. Corey's hand right now is Stormbreath Dragon and Kolagon. Now, Boswell will get to select one of those dragons, but if Corey draws an untapped land, he can dash Kolagon or cast Stormbreath Dragon, depending on which one it is. We'll see if Boswell actually taps out or if he wants to leave Hero's Downfall up, but this is getting really, really interesting.
Yeah, and this is kind of forcing Boswell's hand now to just say, well, I can't allow you to gain this much life because of what it's doing to the damage race. Also, if in the event that I sacrifice something, I might have to just leave my other creature back on defense because I can't race against your Soulfire Grandmaster. So now Boswell's put into a spot where he just kind of has to hope that Corey doesn't draw a land that's untapped for a little while because the Soulfire Grandmaster was causing that much problem.
And Boswell's down to 4 now.
Yeah, he's very low.
Because that Hero's Downfall, you had to use Mana Confluence and Land of War Waste to cast it.
And it's trouble even if Boswell is able to kill this because he's on Pain Lands for so much of his mana.
Yep. So Ramaz is going to come in, and if Corey Phipps draws an untapped 5th land, this game is over. Can he do it? He cannot, but he does have a 5th land. Top card goes to the bottom. Stormbreath Dragon's the card left behind. Boswell will draw. Boswell picks up a copy of Thoughtseize. Yikes. I think he's forced to cast it and go to 2. Yep. Bye-bye Storm Breath.
Well, now Crackling Doom is a lethal draw.
Yep. Any Haste Dragon's lethal draw.
Yep. So for the same deal, he takes 2 off of his lands.
Haste Dragon's off the table now as a lethal draw. Tasker was the draw. What else can Mr. Phipps draw to?
Just a reminder that we're still taking signups for today's
Thunderbreak region's not all that great.
challenge.
He does have 3 more Storm Breaths to draw.
Thunderbreak is a fine draw here.
It's not
The-
terrible.
The trigger is
No, that's
is
true.
lethal.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Trigger's
true.
lethal.
Yep.
And that starts.
Murder's Cut kills Raz. That slows down the clock quite a bit.
Yep.
However, here comes Tassiger. So 3 more Storm Breaths, Crackling Dooms, Wild Slash if it's still in.
Yeah. That's why I wonder if Boswell is supposed to Thought Seize away the dragon, because he goes to 3 casting Hero's Downfall, and the difference between 3 and 2 is significant for a couple cards in the deck.
Warden of the first tree to draw.
Warden is a huge draw here,
Yep.
as Boswell has the opportunity to grow it and then grow it again next turn, get it to lifelink, and then you start pushing yourself out of the range of certain things.
The clock right now is at 2 turns anyway. Though Warden, I agree that Warden is still a pretty good draw.
Corey might rip a removal spell for the Tassiger
Yeah.
and so forth, so.
Can we do it? Can we peel Crackling Doom? Can we peel some way to win this game? It's got to be this turn. It's just Draconic Roar and a land. Draconic Roar with no dragon and an extension of the hand. Andrew Boswell going to win this match here over Corey Phipps. 2-0. Abzan Aggro will take care of Mardu Dragons. For Boswell, Hill will move on to 11-1. Had to fade some draw steps, but he was able to do it.
That was quite the sweat. Corey Mulligan kept a 1-lander with a pretty heavy top end, not a lot going on in that hand, and was 1 draw step away from being able to steal game 2.
Very impressive stuff there for Boswell. It moves on to 11-1 with 3 rounds left to go. A virtual lock.
It would have to be a complete 0-3 full-blown disaster for him to miss at this point.
Yes, 0-3, not being able to draw or anything like that. So I think we may have locked up our first player in the top 8. However, for Corey Phipps, he can run off a couple wins here and make top 8 himself.
Yeah, still certainly live. Very cool deck, different than what we've seen before, but it's much the same story that we've seen with a lot of the 3-color decks, where you just have the quality dragons and the quality dragon enablers that exist in your colors, whether it's Soulmagar Scorn or Draconic Roar.